Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Eric Carlson again, running for Congress in the 1st Congressional District of Illinois. Today, we're going to do video 5 of my series on problems and solutions that are facing the people of the 1st District. So, video 5 is going to be about education, and this is something that has, you see me put these matrices up here, and that's kind of how my mind works. I break down problems into little boxes and then try to explain in each one exactly what the problem is and what the solution is. These with education, it's very there's many different levels, as you can see here. We have the stuff that I think the stuff that concerns the people most in the 1st District is going to be grade school and high school education. The basics the kids need to get ahead in life. That foundation. If you don't have that good educational foundation, then it's that much harder to get to make your way in life. So I want to start with school choice. Now I know it's down here on the bottom though. This is not in the order of priority, but school choice is the ability for parents to take control of their child's education, and they have the choice to send their kids to whichever school they think is best for that particular kid. You can do this with vouchers. There's plenty of money to go around to issue vouchers by taking away money that's going into the current education system, which is obviously broken. Some people out there may not realize, but the United States spends more money per student every year on education than anywhere else in the world. And we have gone from, when I was in grade school, #1 in the world in reading, science, math, all the basics. We are now ranked, I believe the last ranking was 17th in the world as far as industrialized nations were concerned. That should be embarrassing. That should be embarrassing to everyone involved who has anything to do with running that system. The amount of money that we pour in to our education system, our kids should have the best education in the world. And the reason, a big part of that's fallen apart is coming over here. A lot of it deals with the teachers' unions. Now, I'm not anti-union. I'm not anti-teacher. I have several teachers in my family, close family members that work in that profession. But I think that the teachers' unions have hijacked the profession of teaching in Illinois in general, but in the 1st District especially. We just had a big battle here between Mayor Lightfoot and the teachers' unions about opening the schools back up. COVID has done a number on the kids. It is, a lot of experts are saying that it is, some of the damage that has been done is, it's setting them back years in their educational progress, which is, as a country, this weakens us as a whole. The more we lock down and we let competitors like China get ahead of us, global competition, we'll talk about that in a minute, the more that we allow ourselves to be hamstrung by this COVID, the entire COVID scene here, the harder it's going to be for us to compete in the future. And the ones that are being hurt are our children. They are being hamstrung right now by terrible policies, and a lot of this is coming down from the Democrat Party. But the teachers' unions have so controlled the education system here in the state of Illinois. And if you look at it, there's a reason for that. Teachers want to teach. Most teachers want to get back in the classroom and get with the kids and do what they train to do. And this is their profession. This is what they love to do. That's why they chose this profession, to go down this road, to get an education themselves and go into teaching children. Teachers' unions, on the other hand, that's a political animal. In Illinois, the teachers' unions, you are forced, basically, to be in a teachers' union if you are a teacher. I don't believe there's any opt-out for them, which means that every month or every paycheck that you get, a chunk of that money gets taken out as union dues, and those union dues are used by the teachers' unions to fund Democrat candidates. So it's a circle here, back and forth between these two. They will do whatever these guys suggest, and they know that they can pressure them because that's where a lot of their campaign money comes from. That shouldn't happen. There needs to be reform in this state and on a national level where teachers' unions deal with labor issues with their teachers, but do not have the impact that they have on the children. The children should be considered first. Flat out, period, end of story. The teachers' unions should be treated like the air traffic controllers were. If you guys remember in the 1980s, Ronald Reagan, now it was against the law. It was against law for air traffic controllers to strike because it could bring the whole country to its knees economically. It stops the mail. A lot of people don't know that the mail travels on, a lot of it travels on commercial aircraft. That could not shut down, but they decided to go on strike anyway. They thought that they were gonna call the shots, even though it was against the law. Well, what Ronald Reagan did was said, okay, you can go on strike. He brought in the military air traffic controllers to get the system up and running. That you guys can basically go pound sand. And this, again, this is not an anti-union. Labor unions were founded for a great reason, but in some cases, they've turned into an entirely different animal, a political animal and a money-grabbing animal. So if you're going to put the children first, you have to rein in these teachers' unions. And I would say no more contributions from these to any political party, period. They should be cut and dry, entirely separate from any candidates or any party. CRT. This can be a divisive issue, and that's exactly why I put it up here. There's a lot of people on the left and right, they're telling you that if you don't want critical race theory in the schools, that somehow you're a racist or whatnot. That is not the case at all. This is teaching divisiveness instead of bringing us together. And all this does is lead to a next generation of people fighting like you're seeing now and arguing about race and everything else. If you've ever seen the movie Lone Survivor, about the Navy SEALs in Afghanistan, and there's a scene where they get in a shootout and they're in a bad way, and one of the SEALs gets actually shot in the back of the head, and he's still alive, he's conscious, but he's kind of out of it. And he says to his buddies, "Did they really shoot me in the head?" And his buddy says to him, and this is typical in a special operations community, his buddy says to him, "You're living in the past, man. You're living in the past." As serious as that is, it happened before. There's nothing you can do about it. So you got to move on. You got to deal with the situation that's in front of you. So when you keep dwelling on what happened in the past, we can use that as an example and learn from that. But you're not going to fix anything by keep dwelling on that, throwing it in other people's faces or forcing or using it as a point of argument. So you'll see, and again, this district is so spread out, you're going to get people on both sides of the coin here. This should not be taught in school, period. It's no good for anyone. You teach in school, you teach the basics. And I'm going to go over this here. Might as well hit it right now. Our kids should be being taught the basics. Reading, writing, math, science, these things that they need to know, the basic foundation to get them and compound that in high school. And then they'll be ready to go to college. They'll be ready to head off to university, and then they can compete globally and keep this country the number one country in the world, number one economy, number one in advancements. But there's problems here. There's people who don't want us to succeed. And a lot of that, we'll go into this in another video, but a lot of this stuff is outside influence that's trying to divide. The Chinese love to see Americans fighting amongst themselves. The Russians love to see that. The Iranians love to see that. Don't feed into their stuff. We live here together. No one's going anywhere. If we don't get along and fix this and fix the problems, we're all doomed. It's that simple. It's that simple. This country cannot survive with that much infighting. So again, school choice. Parents should have control where they send their kids to school. They should get the choice. They're paying their taxes for kids to go to school. That money is being taken and put into the schools, which are controlled here, and they're not producing. They're not giving your kids the education they deserve. So you need to redo that entire thing. Take these out of the equation and let the cities and the educators, professional educators, set up the curriculum to get these kids where they need to be. If you follow these, you're going to get a better education. That's why you see anytime that school choice is offered in underprivileged minority neighborhoods, 9 times out of 10, the parents choose this to take, okay, I get it. It's basically just like having a check, and you can take your check and take it to this school. You can shop around. So what does that do? That means that schools are actually competing. It's kind of like the capitalist system. They're competing for money that's coming from the government, but it's based on how many students are enrolled in their school. So if they don't perform, if these schools underperform, they're going to be taken out. And all these teachers, the ones that are saying that this is a bad idea, well, maybe those are the teachers that are causing our kids not to learn. Maybe they're the problem. Maybe the good ones will leave these teachers unions and go to the private institutions and the magnet schools and things like that, and allow the parents to have that control. And the parents should have control outright. What you saw with the Department of Justice going to sick the FBI on American families, the parents of kids, for going to school board meetings and complaining about critical race theory and other things. The Fed needs to stay out of local business. Period. Absolutely. Stop. The law enforcement in this first district, Cook County, Will County, and Kankakee County, can handle any problem that happens at a school board meeting. I can assure you, they will take care of that problem for you. And the parents have every right to complain. They have every right to have their voices heard, just like everyone does. But there's no reason for the feds to be in here. This is not their backyard. So we're going to move on here to colleges and universities, the next step up. First of all, my big question would be, are they necessary? In the majority of cases, no. It's become a business. College has become a business. Everybody gets out of high school. Even when I got out of high school, it was kind of a rarity for kids to go to school. Most people went to work or went in the military. Quite a few of them went to school. But now they make it seem like that's the next thing. You have to go to college to get that. That's not true. You can go in the trades. I spent over 20 years in the trades. You can make good money in the trades, have a great life without spending this, without going into debt. This has become a business. If you look at the salaries of school administrators, college administrators, it's public record. If you go on there for the public university, if you go online and check out what people are making in even at the community college level, not so much the teachers and the people that are doing the grunt work, but the people at the top. This has become a business. They're making $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year. Some of them for managing a school that basically runs itself with everyone underneath, doing the actual work. So take a look at that, because that's your tax dollars that goes into supporting the local community colleges and the state schools here in Illinois. Your tax dollars go to support that, and yet they take money from the federal government also. So it's taxpayer funded. Now these kids, they get them to take out these student loans. They say, well, this is the tuition. You're going to have to pay that. So does it make sense for a kid to spend $15,000 to $25,000 a year to go to school? So be $100,000 in debt after 4 years, just starting out with an education that's not that great. And now you've got everybody went to school. So everybody went to school because everybody could get loans. This is just like the housing bubble in 2008. If you have everybody who has a college education, everybody's competing for the same few jobs. And there's nobody to do this work over here. The trades, the stuff that needs to be done. You can automate everything all you want. You're never going to automate a plumber. You're never going to automate an electrician. You need guys to bend pipe and swing hammers. These guys make good money. They make a good living. Most of my friends are in the trades. Kids, believe me, you can have a great life here. Invest your money wisely, and you can go to school. Like I'm going on 54 years old. I'm actually starting back school now, full time, as I try and run this campaign. So yes, I've got a bit on my plate and working full time. Foreign students, this is a problem. Bringing foreign students into now. There's a reason we bring foreign students in, because we hope that they will see the way America is and hopefully want to stay here. So we bring in people, the best minds, hopefully from around the world, to get them to come to America and thereby strengthen us. But what this also does is it weakens the nations that they leave. If all their kids, I mean, you see a lot of people come from India. There's a lot of doctors that come from India. What does that do to the people in India? If you take away the people that have reached the highest level of education in your country and you take them out of your economic structure, that does your country no good. So, excuse me, in a way, this kind of hurts our friends. On the other side, you have the Chinese. The Chinese have 350,000 students in this country, and they are going to American universities, and they are participating in research projects with our professors and these people who are doing scientific experiments, which is fine. The only problem with that is that China has already said that this is Chinese policy. The policy of the Chinese Communist Party is that every Chinese citizen who goes abroad is a spy for the state. That is their job. They are supposed to spy for the state. That is it. So you have 350,000 potential spies, and yet you have the FBI trying to crack down on Americans for fictitious things, such as going to school board meetings. 350,000 potential spies in this country. You want to know why the Chinese, how they are stealing all of our intellectual property? Part of it is American companies going over there and wanting access to the Chinese market. So they're told when they get there that they have to sign over a bunch of their intellectual property to the Chinese. The Chinese have always been a knockoff economy. They take a good idea and a good product and they make a cheap copy of it and they sell it to the rest of the world, and trying to undercut you. And of course, you get what you pay for, but these people, the Chinese students that are in this country, and this is already, there's documented cases of them doing this at Harvard and I believe at Stanford. Some big name college professors were giving secrets, and you have to realize that our military, a lot of the research that is done for weapons and stuff, a lot of that starts in universities, and they come up with an idea and that works through a project where you have a lot of these students that work with these professors on this stuff who have access to information that is detrimental to this country, our safety, your safety. That needs to be looked at. And if I go to Congress, I would absolutely look at this. Now, some people may say, well, you're singling out Chinese. Is that racist? No, it's not. A lot of people, and I blame people on the right because they always like to say, well, FDR during World War II, he put the Japanese in concentration camps. Well, he put them in internment camps because if you know the history behind that, we were worried about sabotage in this country at that time. And the Japanese only made up a couple 100,000 people in this country. Whereas if you looked at Germany, who we were not at war yet, Germany hadn't declared when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. They did it a couple days afterwards. Germany declared war on us. But the Germans made up the single biggest immigrant group in this country. German Americans were the single biggest population, and they had been here much longer than the Japanese Americans had been here. So there was a mistrust. Was part of it racial? You could probably say that. But the thing is, it's very easy, and I hate to say this, but it's very easy to pick out a Japanese person as opposed to picking out a German person from a Polish person or an Irish person. It was just easier for them to do that. But again, the numbers, it wasn't feasible to do this to the German people. Also, you couldn't. There was just too many. But the Japanese people, they were so worried because of the attack on Pearl Harbor and the nature of a surprise attack and how that was considered so very underhanded at that time. That was considered a you just didn't do it. That was akin to a war crime by attacking someone without declaring war first. You just didn't do it back then. But the Japanese did it, and the Americans were worried about sabotage in this country. I'll cut this a little short, but we had 0 incidents of sabotage from Japanese Americans during that war. So the policy worked. It might have not been pretty, and people can go back, but I don't like people on the right bashing FDR for it. And, desperate times, desperate measures. You can look back on anything and say that Abraham Lincoln did some bad stuff too. Not bad stuff, but he did necessary things like suspending the writ of habeas corpus. But these are things that they had to do on a wartime footing. So you can't judge them for that. You have to go back and look at the person in the setting, in the time, the decisions they had to make. So that's all I'll go on that. College, we all know that's overpriced. We kind of touched on that. The thing is that these have become petri dishes for socialist and Marxist thinking. People that go to college and they come out, they get fed this stuff by professors who are tenured, who just sit there. And these are the ones with the big paychecks, couple $100,000 a year to sit there and tell your kid how bad America is and how evil you are and how you're destroying the planet and basically turn your kids against you. It's exactly what the Germans did in World War II. They took the kids away from the families and sent them to Hitler youth camps to indoctrinate them and then send them back. And the kids were turning their own parents in. And if you think that's a far reach, It absolutely isn't. So I know this is a problem for some of the people in the first district. They look at this and it's what's coming out of here. It's the thoughts that are coming out of here that are very anti-American. Again, taxpayer funded and student loans. Told it, yeah, you got kids to take out student loans to pay. So the colleges got paid. Students got money loaned from the government. Your tax dollars went to a student because that student wanted to go to this school. So the money went directly to the university from the government. Now this kid over here, he has a loan. Now the Democrats are telling him, you know what we're going to do? Joe Biden wants to forgive your loan. Well, what kind of responsibility does that teach you? This kid who's now going to be 22 years old, he's coming out, oh yeah, you know what? If I get in trouble, somebody will just come along and bail me out. So I can sign contracts or take out loans on anything. Oh, if I take out a loan on a house, it doesn't matter if I default on a loan. Somebody will bail me out. It's not teaching responsibility, and it's not free. You're not giving them anything free. You're taking from the taxpayer to cover that loss. The only one who's out is the taxpayer. The kid's not out, the school's not out, the government's not out, just the taxpayer. So that's it for education. Again, video number 5. I am Eric Carlson. I am running for Congress in the 1st Congressional District here in Illinois. I would appreciate your support. We will be going out, hitting the streets here in a couple days as soon as our campaign literature gets in, so we can start getting our signatures to get our name on the ballot. And then we first have to run for the nomination in the primary election, which is June 28th here in Illinois. So mark that down on your calendar, and then hopefully if we win there, we'll be able to compete in November. Thank you.